Well, hopefully that sizzling sequence successfully started some salivation, and hopefully you appreciate that alliteration because it only took me about 15 minutes to come up with. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Sonik Sizzla pan set. More specifically, 5 key things you need to know about this whole new range. But before we jump into the video, please do just take a few seconds out of your time to subscribe to us and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads. It really does help the channel grow. So we'll start off with some of the key features because all of the things I'm about to state transfer across the whole range regardless of what type of pan configuration you opt for, which we'll get onto in a second. So to start with, the pans themselves are made of a nice lightweight die-cast aluminium. So they're not ridiculously heavy, but they're still nice and solid and robust. They should last you several years, getting knocked about in your cooking bag on the way to and from the bank, and of course when it's in use as well. The base, as you can see, has a pattern. It's a hexagonal heat exchange, which should theoretically, I believe, help with the heat displacement around the base of the pan, so you're not getting a completely intense hot spot right in the center where your stove actually is. And on the inside, we've got a heavy-duty fluoropolymer non-stick coating, so it doesn't matter what you're cooking on there, should clean off nice and easily at the end of use. And as you would have noticed there, all the pans in this set are separatable like so. Nice and easy to click together with the hinges, and that locks them in position, so they will not come apart when they're in use. When you shut the lids down, they're nice and sealed, so there's no splashing about, or if you're cooking stuff like a curry or whatever that's going to be a bit sizzly and lots of oil splatting around, you can put that lid down, stop it from splashing around all over the place. And at the end of the day, if you want to take it apart, they still stay together like that. They won't come apart, but if you go halfway, you can then separate them like so. So you can use them individually as individual frying pans, or if you want to cover it up for a nice and clean cooking situation, as quickly as that, they are back together. And keeping on the theme of removability, the handles themselves, they have a really rigid T-lock design, which makes the handles absolutely rock solid when they're in position. But a twist of the nice ergonomic handles, which is given a nice rubberized type finish, releases that T-lock, and you can remove the handles like so. Slot them back into place as easy as that. Twist them. You can actually do this one-handed. You don't need to be using 2 hands on that, and it's then locked solid. Twist again to loosen off, and they come off as easy as that. And also the sides of these handles, if I open them up, you can see they fit inside. So we'll loosen this one off as well. The handles will fit inside, as does the utensil, which I'll get onto in a second. So if you want to keep that nice and neat on the inside like so, you can do so. And lastly, there's a little metal clip on here which is fully removable if you don't want to keep that on there. But once it's in place, you pop that over the top of the lid and it holds them in position so they don't open up in transit. Along with the pan set, regardless of which one you go for, it also comes with a drawstring bag, which is what you put your handles in to keep them secure in here. And it also means that they're not rattling around, potentially damaging that coating on the inside of the pan, or you can keep them separate from outside the pan, but in their own little dedicated case. And there's also a utensil spoon spatula thingy-majiggy, which I'll get onto in more detail in a second. Now your first option is the Sizzla Multipan, which comes in at an RRP of $22.99. Now although it's got the name Multipan, it does come just on its own, just as this, but the reason it still has the Multipan name is because, as you'll notice, it still has those hinge points where you can add pans at a later date. So if you want to get another one of these, or you want to go for one of the other sets I'm about to get onto in a second, they are all transferable, so it doesn't matter which one you go for, they are all universal in fitment. You've still got that T-lock fitment on the handles, so they're still easily removable, and with this kit will also come the utensils and the neoprene bag to put your handle in if you want to. So that is your most standard pan, and this is going to be ideal for those of you that want to cook fairly simple on the bank, maybe your bacon and eggs in the morning, or just easy curries and things like that, and you're not too fussed about splashback and everything coming off this pan. Just want to keep to your bare minimum and use that. That's when you probably go for the Sizzla. But don't worry, if at a later date you want to upgrade to more pots and pans in the range, you can do so. Next up is the Sizzla Multipan Set. Now this comes in at $39.99. So as you can see, you've got the 2 halves, which you get onto in a second. They're also closed with that clip that it comes with. The neoprene bag with the 2 handles, and of course the utensils, which again, as I keep mentioning, I'll get onto in a bit more detail towards the end of the video. So take these handles out, it shows just how quick and easy these are to set up. Remember to take that clip off so you can open up the pan nice and easily. You can remove the clip afterwards, but as quick as that, 1 handle arm, nice and solid. Second handle arm, also nice and solid. Now these look identical from the outside, and as I mentioned, that clip holds them together in transit, but you can just pop it off as easy as that when you're in use if you don't want it hanging around when you're cooking. So that's now set up, 2 halves, look the same from the outside, the hinge works as you'd expect, pops in and out nice and easily, but on the inside is where there's a difference. You've still got the standard flat side one, so if you want to cook your normal things in there that don't require a griddle, because the griddle one is on the other side. As you can see, it's got those ribs, so it's perfect for doing things like a steak, something like that, where you want to have a bit more texture to your meat. I'm not even sure what other reasons there are for a griddle other than that, just making a steak look really cool. So it's nice that you've got the 2 options of how you want to cook things. But of course, having the 2 lids like so, when you shut them down, it keeps it nice and neat, so nothing splashed around. Because if you have a look around the very outside of the pans, there is an ever so slight little lip on each side, and they correspond with each other, so that they don't just sit on top of each other, they actually interlock ever so slightly. So they really do seal up nice and snug, and it should stop anything from spilling out whilst you're cooking. So as I mentioned, you can cook pretty much anything you want in here, whether it be a curry, a steak dinner, deep filled toasties, something like that. This really is the all-rounder that you can cook anything you like in there, unless you want to go for something that needs a bit more volume. And that's where the Multipan Set Deep version comes in. This comes in an RRP of $49.99. As you can see, they still completely separate. It comes with one of the soft top lids. But of course, if you went for the other Multipan set and you wanted to have a griddle with this one, you can do that, and they will interlock. So it just shows how universal this whole range is. It doesn't matter what one you go for, they all interlock. So if you want to go for the full kit, because you like to cook loads when you're camping, maybe with a family, try and slot that back in one-handed. You want to cook with a family or take loads of stuff and cook loads on the bank for longer trips, getting all of these different things with several different cookers, you can cook anything. But as the name suggests, this one is much deeper. So if you're cooking things like stews, broths, or things like that, that's when this one would come in. Or just a greater volume, you're cooking for more than just yourself. Or you've got a massive appetite. So that's when you probably opt for the deep pan one, and that's one I'm going to be using for this lunchtime to cook a stir fry for my wife and I. And that's one of the perks of cooking or filming something like this, is I get to use them all and cook lots of lovely grub up. So, the multi-utensil tong. I keep saying I refer to this because it's more than just tongs. At the moment, as you can see, it's in a nice small format where it's clicked together with the use of this hinge point, but also a housing to keep them both together when they're in transit. If I pop them out, like so, you can use them as a spoon with a little serrated bit at the top for grip, which comes into in a second. And then you've got this, which is a spatula, which is perfectly curved, and a serrated edge there to make some cuts. If you put them together then like so, they have a bit of a gap, and because you've got that texture on the spoon, it's good for gripping. So if you're flipping sausages or need them to get things out like salad tongs, do people ever have salads on the bank? You can use them as salad tongs. So they're nice and universal, both they're easy to transit and transport around. You can put them together and use them as tongs or use them individually. One of the other really nice little ideas or things that have been included in this is that rounded edge on the corner has actually been designed perfectly for these pans. So when you're cooking, they actually fit really snug to the pan shape around the outside. So it makes it easy when you're cooking to make sure you get all things off the edges, but also when it comes to cleaning, you get that perfect, move it round, and you'll be able to scrape off all that excess that may have dried on around the edges. So that's everything you need to know about the Sizzla pan set, whether you're going for the standard single one on its own, or going for one of the sets like this one, which is a flat edge and a griddle side, or the deep. Completely up to you which one you want to go for. And of course, as I mentioned throughout, if you change your mind after a while of just having this and want to upgrade and add some more things, you can do so, and they all correspond with each other. So for more information, if you need any more than that, then please head over to the Sonik website, pick some up for yourself, and hopefully you'll enjoy cooking on the bank that little bit more. Just watching, and I'll see you again soon.